Hello everybody and welcome to the Money Man. Now today I've got a complete set of banknotes from the newest country on earth, that is South Sudan. And I'll start off with the lowest denomination and I'll work through the banknotes and I'll tell you a little bit about the history of Sudan and some other information as I go along. So here's the lowest denomination. This is a 5 South Sudanese Pound note. And you can see that straight off the bat it's quite interesting because it's printed in English. Now, South Sudan used to be part of what now we loosely refer to as Greater Sudan, and it broke away recently basically because of religious divides. The north of what was Sudan is dominated by Muslims, and the south of what was formerly Sudan, Unified Sudan, is dominated by Christians. So the Christian South basically broke away and formed their own republic, which became known as South Sudan. So the banknotes in Sudan are still printed in Arabic, but the ones in South Sudan are actually printed in English. So that's quite interesting. Now, there are some interesting features about these banknotes. You can see that we've got a security strip down here, which becomes more prominent as we go through the set. You'll see what I mean quite soon. And you can see that the banknote is dominated by this portrait, and this is Dr. John Garang Dimmable. I think I'm saying his name correctly, I'm sorry if I'm not. And he was the first vice president of South Sudan, and he was a very key figure in the South Sudanese sort of people's liberation struggle, I guess. And he also makes up the watermark of this banknote. If you have a look, it's very hard to see, but his portrait is the security watermark. And these two features carry through the entire set, and you'll see quite soon. So if we spin it around and look at the back, you can see that we've got some cattle on the back, usually used by herdsmen in that part of the world. And you can see we've got the 5 down the middle, and we've got just a reflective strip on the back. Now, the quality of these banknotes is not actually that bad. Many African countries produce very low quality banknotes because they have to produce them as cheaply as possible, which is a reflection of the economies of those countries. But these are not too bad, actually. They're not bad. They've got a good number of security features, and the paper quality is okay. You'll see here that we've got 2015, so this is actually the second series. The first series didn't come with dates printed on them, so that's how you can distinguish between the first and the second series. So that's the first one, the 5 South Sudanese Pound banknote. Here's the next one. The next one is the 10, and it looks like this. So you can see, essentially, it's the same banknote. There are just subtle changes, like the colour scheme, the denomination is different, but you can see overall it's basically the same thing. So we won't linger too long on these. So I'll spin it around. At least the back is different. You can see we've got some water buffalo or wildebeest, something like that. I think that those are water buffalo, aren't they? Native species of the region, which is quite nice. So as you probably guessed, that this is actually a flora and fauna set, and flora and fauna sets are very, very popular these days. I think really because it's not political. I think a lot of countries are trying to break away from, especially African countries, are breaking away from the idea of having politicized banknotes. But then this note only goes halfway because obviously on the front you've got the former vice president. But yeah, anyway, he's quite a key figure in the foundation of South Sudan, so that's probably why he's there. So next one is the 20 South Sudanese Pound note. And here it is. I like the colour scheme of this, it's quite nice. Don't see too many orange banknotes around, but this one, that's pretty cool. Spin it around, look at the back. You can see we've got the 20 reflected in the reflective strip, and we've got more indigenous wildlife. Now I think this is an oil well. I'm not too sure though. But if you know anything of Sudan's history, there is oil there, and there have been some conflicts recently between Sudan and South Sudan, and it's basically over these oil-producing regions. Both countries try to lay claim to the rich resources that they have down there for obvious reasons. So it might be a subtle nod after that, saying, "Hey, the oil fields are ours." I don't know. I'm not sure. It might not be an oil pump, but I'm not sure. To me, it looks like it is. Anyway, please correct me in the comment section if you know. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one, which is the 50. And it's very nice. I love the colour scheme of this. It sort of reminds me of the Jersey £20. It's a very nice colour scheme. And you can see that, basically the same features. Nothing too special about this one. But you can see that the security strip is starting to become a bit more prominent. If we spin it around. Look at the back, you can see we've got some African elephants. We've even got a little baby elephant right here. Yeah, really, really nice. Really like the little images just offset to the right. Really nice banknotes, actually. So yeah, not too bad. And then the next one is the 100, which was the highest denomination until fairly recently. So this is the reverse of the 100, and you can see we've got a fantastic male lion just on the back and a beautiful waterfall. He's just relaxing there. And they're sort of very reminiscent of the old Rhodesian banknotes, these. That used to have sort of lions and waterfalls on and stuff like that. So yeah, spin it around and look at the front. You can see it's pretty much the same. That's why I went straight to the back. So yeah, colour scheme, pretty nice. I quite like the blue in this. And you can see we've got Dr. John Garang represented here. So like I said, this was the highest denomination until a couple of years ago when they released this, the 500. So this is now the highest denomination in the series. This is the 500 South Sudanese Pound banknote, and you can see it's a little bit larger than the other ones. One thing you'll notice about these banknotes is the cut is not very good. You can see the margin here is much larger than the margin down here, and that is something that is consistent through most of the banknotes in this set. So you can see that the cutting practices are they're not that great, but you can see it's essentially the same as all the others on the front. And we spin it around and we look at the back, and here is the reverse. So we've got a beautiful landscape here, and you can see that the reflective quality of the 500 security strip right here, pretty nice. So yeah, so if we spin it around now, if we look at the front, you can see again we've got Dr. John Garang. Now he died in July of 2005 in very mysterious circumstances. He actually took an unscheduled trip to meet, I believe it was a senior political figure from Uganda. And he actually told the government officials in South Sudan that he was actually going to New Kush, which is a town on the Kenyan border. Which Dr. John Garang helped to found. So, because they thought he was going on this recreational trip, he didn't take his presidential plane. So he flew in this Ugandan helicopter and tragically crashed after he'd had this meeting. And the bizarre thing about it is that nobody really knows, who was at that meeting and what was discussed, even to this day. So his death is quite unusual, some might say suspicious. I don't want to get all conspiracy on you, but if you are interested in these kind of stories about these leaders, I definitely recommend looking up this man and look up his life. I mean, he was an orphan at the age of 10. He grew up in a very poor family. He was awarded a scholarship, I believe, at Berkeley in California, but then decided not to take it. And decided to instead study African agricultural practices in Tanzania. So the guy travelled around. He had a very unusual life. I definitely highly recommend reading about him. And the circumstances of his death are tragic and very suspicious as well, I would say. So that's this set of banknotes. Food for thought for you guys there. What do you think about these banknotes? I think they're pretty cool, actually. It's a nice set. Put down in the comment section, what do you think? Do you want to see more African banknotes? I've got quite a lot more African banknotes. If you want to see images of these banknotes that featured in this video, please follow the link in the description to my Facebook page. You can find everything that is currently in my collection and a lot of news and views about new upcoming banknote releases. So yeah, check it out. Thank you so much for watching. It's the Money Man signing out for now. Bye bye.